Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right, episode 120 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Jared from Parkway Printshop in Virginia. Let's go!
Hey,
Hey, what shirt you got on there?
it says "Goodbye, Cruel World." It's got a little spaceship on it. See?
I like it.
Little spacey space.
I'm pretty sure that's the shuttle, like the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, check. Recording?
Check. Hey, I can't whisper to you because nobody likes it.
No. Well, actually, I said, give me all the whispers, and it got 6 or 7 likes. So,
Hey,
you know.
for the people who like it. For the people that don't, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I like it. So, this is, it's just you and me right here, right now.
Whoa, who's in the background back there? People are working still?
Yeah, like, this is all your fault. Don't try and put this on me. This is you. That's how this works,
sorry.
is that you
My bad.
do things in your life.
Yeah, but how many times have I had to reschedule because you're going to the fucking Bahamas or some shit?
Andy takes his laptop to the Bahamas, which I've never been to
talks
the
himself
Bahamas.
in the third person.
And Andy records when he's on vacation. Dylan doesn't. Dylan doesn't record when
I'm pretty
he's
sure
gone.
I recorded from Disney.
You did. Actually, you did. It's true. True story.
Yeah.
But why don't you record from Matt, from the what's it called?
I'll be literally in the middle
let me
of
think
printing.
of it. Rockefeller Center. Just record from there.
Yeah.
Record the show from there. That would.
While live
Like-
printing, I could be printing like this and turn over and see you and just talk to you about printing. I mean, that would be pretty cool, actually.
There would be.
All right, fuck
it's
it.
a good
let's
idea.
cancel
You're
this.
welcome.
I'll just talk to you then. I'll have really great internet there.
That is true. That might be another problem. So
Yeah,
never mind. But why are we arguing? That's like,
I don't know.
I'm fine. Like,
I don't
it's
want
all
to.
good. This is, I was happy to reschedule. What that means is that I'm here. I'm still at the shop. Things are happening.
Cool.
Which, by the way, dude, it's insane. And as Kevin from Stoked put it so well, it's insane on all fronts. Every front and the back. It's insane on the fronts and the backs. And the sleeve prints. I have some exciting news. I got a new tag press, and I got it from East West.
It came in already?
It's already here. Eric doesn't fuck around. East West
I
doesn't
guess
fuck
not.
around.
Yeah.
They ship it, and it flies. They must fly it. They must
Eric
ship it
flew
air.
it himself on his lap.
Yeah. Special delivery. And it's here. And let me tell you.
It's beautiful.
It goes like this. Ready? It goes, you shuttle it over, and it has a little trigger that when you don't push a button, it just triggers it
Right.
when it gets to
And
the
it shuts,
end
and
of
it
the
goes
shuttle. And then it goes. And
Beautiful.
then so I have it set to 6 seconds, counts down. Then it goes. And then you shuttle it to the next one.
Yeah. EastWestMachines.com.
Yeah, so it is great because you can set pressure so easily, like the manual one that we had,
Yeah.
the twin heat press, which is great and has done us. We have printed 1 drillion. Is that a number? Let's look it
Drillion?
up. But
Yes.
a drillion. Pretty sure it's a number. 1 drillion tags on. It still works. It's just that we needed something where we can dial in and adjust pressure on the fly and
Right.
also
Yep.
super accurate time and temp and all that sort of stuff. And it's brilliant. So we're super stoked. It's really was a game changer for us.
How was your week otherwise?
Well, I have a thing that I don't know if I can comfortably share without tearing up, Dylan. We messed up an
Yeah.
order. We goofed, but we're not gonna talk about it.
Today?
Well, we found out about it.
I goofed today too, so
We found out yesterday, and we didn't goof yesterday. We goofed a couple of days ago or whenever it was, and then we found out yesterday how badly it was. And well, I guess I'll say this. So it actually has nothing to do with printing. It has something and everything to do with our tags. Like we goofed the largest order in our company history, and so we goofed massively.
You goofed twice on the same customer that we talked about like
and it's
4
all to
or
do
5
with
days ago?
Yes, and it's all to do with tags.
Damn.
What's your guess on dollar wise? Just a real quick guess on
Well, the
dollar
last
wise.
goof you said was like $900.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say $2,000.
More.
Jesus. 4
More.
that you have to eat.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I like how your voice cracks there. You're like, yes.
Oh,
5,
yeah. More.
8.
More.
Seriously,
Dude,
fuck that. Fired. Who did it?
More.
12,
More.
15,
More.
20.
More.
No way. That's
I'm
not
not
real.
fucking. I'm not.
How do you fuck that up?
Does this face look like it's joking?
How? Tell me the story.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
Too.
Our listeners have to
it's-
hear it now. I want to hear it.
Let me think about it.
Just tell me.
The story's over. Like that.
It's not
was
over.
the
You didn't
beginning.
explain anything. You just said a dollar amount.
This is my new knife. It's Milwaukee.
Is that the Milwaukee one? I have the same
You
thing.
have this same one,
Yeah.
and then it does this guy right here.
Fuck yeah.
Spring assisted.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's pretty freaking sharp. I know it won't stay that way, but it cuts some shit. Let me tell you.
As a knife should.
Oh, I wanted to mention this. So Tony Tinyfish created a Discord for us. It kind of grew out of Mild Boys, and now it's Discord, and there's all kinds of things. He's created like different channels in there and different hashtags. I don't completely understand how it works. He gave me the rundown, and it's awesome.
Yep.
And we're going to put
There's
the link.
classifieds. There's
Yes.
general conversation. There's a
Yes.
memes page. There's a bunch of stuff. So originally we had started the Mild Boys chat, and then that grew into a bunch of other printers, and then Andy wanted to do Discord because it's more organized, and then we invited Tony, and Tony's a fucking Discord whiz. So we gave Tony admin access, and he is the president of the world now. So if you want to join it, we will. How will we get the link out to everybody? Will we put it on our website?
Can't we put it in the Shirt Show official Instagram? Like we could put it in the
We'll put
a
it
link
in the Shirt Show official
profile.
Instagram link tree, and we
Yeah.
will also put it on our website, shirtshowofficial.com.
Right. All kinds of good info and conversation going on in there. So
Yeah,
come join our Discord.
join up, come hang out, and we're gonna boot assholes. So don't come be an asshole on it, or you will be.
Yeah, like
kicked.
one strike, you're out. Right.
Be nice.
Be nice.
Yeah, I'm so fried right now.
What do you mean?
Like, just it's been a week.
Oh my God. Oh, wait. Back up. So you said you goofed also today.
Yeah,
You want to talk about it?
I can
Get
if
it
you'll
off your
talk about
chest.
the other one.
Get it off your chest. It's okay. Yeah, get it off your
It's
chest.
not that big a deal, but
I'll tell you mine. Fuck it. Yeah,
okay.
I'll tell you.
All right, yeah. So we did a couple thousand bandanas, and we also fold and bag them, and then put a label sticker on the front with the UPC and like their logo and everything, like retail ready for the store. And they just got a shipment to the main fulfillment warehouse, and they said that all the barcodes on the bags were for a different bandana, because we do like a red one, a green one, a blue one, whatever, and all the red bandanas had the blue bandana barcodes on them. But luckily we
what's the
haven't
fix?
printed the blue ones yet, so they're just going to switch the red barcode with the blue barcode. So it's not that big a deal. it was just like I fucked it up, and luckily like it's in somewhat easy fix, but it just kind of sucks when it's a newer customer and you're trying to impress them and then you fuck it up. So, well, yeah, it was my fault. I ordered the labels and I ordered the wrong ones. So,
well, isn't it always ultimately our fault anyway? Like this whole fix that's happening, you know, this big goof. I personally didn't do it, but it's my fault. You know what I mean? Like it's just my fault that it happened because, so this is it's like a pressure mark situation. So what happened was we applied tags with too much pressure and too much heat to fleece, not t-shirts, to a Bella canvas fleece, if you can imagine, which are sensitive, like different than a Gildan. You know what I mean? It's just a different sort of fleece, and too much pressure, too much heat. Back? It showed through the back.
Dude.
Yeah, I know. And
there's no fixing it?
No. I tried. Those are like $16 each too. Some of them are joggers even, which are like $19 or $18.
What's it showing on the back?
Like a rectangle, like the platen or palette.
Did you try rubbing it with wool?
It discolored it too. It's almost like it fried. It's almost like it changed the content. You know, like if you were to emboss. Scorched. Yeah, like it was, you know, because it's a blended fleece, and so the plastic melted slightly or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That sucks. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. So when something like that, this is the biggest anything close to anything like this happening. And when something like that happens, yesterday I found out yesterday, it was pretty defeating. I went home,
cried,
and made Casio E Pepe, and the sauce was tears. Yeah. With tear sauce.
Tear sauce.
Right. And a little butter. With tear sauce and a little butter. Some salt. Oh, well,
the salt from the tears.
Yeah, we didn't need any salt. Had plenty. Exactly.
Cool. That sucks, dude.
It sucks hard. And
we had something almost like that where we had like burnout shirts that someone wanted tags in. I didn't even think about it. We did the whole order, and then I didn't even realize I didn't even think to look, which the person pressing your tags in the fleece probably would never think to look at the back of the hoodie and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then I held up the burnout afterwards, and you can like fully see the tag on like through it because they're so thin. Right. And I was like, these look like shit. So I just redid the whole thing and didn't do tags on them.
Well, this is one of the reasons why we have that new tagging press, you know, because we heard about it last week that this could be a thing. And then we thought we had it resolved. And then it grew into more, because we thought that it was only on a few. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We thought there was one issue with the wrong tags, and the other issue. Get it? Oh yeah. There was 74 boxes.
What's this customer's name so I can contact him and steal the business?
Nope.
Two fuck ups in a row.
Thing. So I'll tell you what we did. We installed. So yesterday we got the Eric's press on Tuesday. Yesterday, Wednesday morning, I went. Our Tuesday afternoon and evening, we searched for a fitting. So for the air to go to our compressor, we have this pancake compressor. And we searched for a fitting, couldn't find it. So I went to Granger. We actually have a Granger like physical store here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes from the shop or so. And so I went there, Mach 100, and picked up the 5/16 little air something, what we needed. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, something like that. And we got the press running yesterday and just started going ham, like fixing putting some labels on some t-shirts for them. And we gave them 4 orders of beautifully printed and beautifully labeled shirts, and that they had also here, and said, here you go, to show them that we aren't total losers. Like we can do this.
Did you charge them?
that wasn't a fix. That was just some yeah, we charged them for those.
Mm-hmm.
For this, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But we'll figure it out, so all I can say is that we had a phone call with them yesterday, personally, me and then their client manager, and we were like, hey, so sorry this happened, and we're fixing it. We're fixing it fast. And so we owe them some favors, and they know it, and we already are working on one, like a quick turn for them. And so it just sucks, and it happens sometimes, and this one's just happens to be really huge, but it's okay. It's done. I can't do anything about it. Looking forward, and that's it, right? So it is what it is. We have our guest coming on soon. We should move on, I think, because we don't want to talk about the sad stuff anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the good stuff.
Which, by the way, I have spoken to Nick Wood several times today. You might have also. And
he reached out to me and said he needed something, and then I haven't heard back.
He does. He needs, I'll tell you what it is in a minute.
Frank.
Dill, it all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the gosh darn best.
Fuck yeah, they do.
To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com,
Rank.com.
or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will help you keep your screens in your shop clean. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Action Engineering makes all kinds of dope-ass accessories that printers need.
Mm-hmm.
Go I was on such a streak. Go level yourself up at actionengineering.com.
Mm-hmm.
You like that?
Yeah, they got the goods.
If you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get your freak on, because they do a freaking good job.
Jesus Christ. You're a fucking cheeseball.
I almost said it with a straight face.
You have to do that every time now. Please, for the love of God.
All right, so you have chroma lines there?
I have a fucking headache now. That's what I have. You give me an aneurysm.
Oh my God, that was solid gold. Nick's gonna love that shit.
I don't even know. All right. Chromoline tip. Pinholes. Everyone fights them, but what causes them? Some of the main causes of pinholes to look for are underexposure, too thin of emulsion coating, poor reclaim job, inadequate degreasing, or dirty environment, including dirty film or dirty glass in the exposure unit. So long story long, clean everything really good, even your glass and your darkroom, and make sure you have a clean area, or you will end up with pinholes.
Yes, great tip. And as always, go to chromaline.com to watch Kevin's videos and learn all about the screen room.
Yes.
Yes. Or fly yourself to Fort Worth, Texas, walk into ISS Fort Worth, and then walk into Kevin's class, and then sit down in a chair, and then listen. Learn.
Yeah, do all that stuff. Who we talking to today, bud?
Who are we talking to today? Well, our guest today is Jared Chubb from Parkway Printshop in Williamsburg, Virginia. And we have spoken to that shop once before. It's been a while, but we didn't speak to Jared. Who do we talk to, Dylan?
Allison.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Allison. But today it's Jared, and we love this shop. He's here, so let's get this going. Let's get the party started, yeah?
Yep.
Stretch.
Jared.
Jared.
What's up, dude? How are you?
What's up? I'm good. What about you guys?
Oh, it's fucking, what is today, Thursday? It's the end of a grueling workday, and I'm tired and beat, and I'm ready to talk to you for a long period of time.
Yeah, Thursday, dude. It's bonkers.
How was today for you? Was it crazy?
Nuts, man. Like, just the whole week's been crazy. Last week's been crazy. So August was a really good month for us. and we are feeling it right now. We're doing production on what we build, the last 2 weeks in August. So it's just all hands on deck and going in so many different directions, getting pulled, and a lot of good problems.
Yeah. What are you guys seeing? Because Andy says he's busy right now. What are you guys seeing is like coming in right now? Like what market is booming?
Well, we do probably like 95% of our business is a local market. And so we work with a lot of restaurants and breweries, different organizations, a lot of festivals and events. And it's just like, when things cool down, those things really start to pick up. And so that's what we, are really finding on our press.
People are gearing up for fall.
Yeah, gearing up for fall for sure, from a retail merch perspective. But also those events, they start coming back around when the weather cools down here in Virginia. So that's just, we'll get tons of orders for outdoor events that are happening, volunteer shirts or merch shirts that people are selling at events and things like that. And we do a little bit, just a really small percentage of schoolwork. But the orders that do come in from the schools are large. So, like homecoming shirts or class shirts. And so, all that's coming in as kids are going back to school. So it's, yeah, dude, we've been slammed, definitely running at our max right now. And so we got to do a little bit of strategizing on how we can handle a little bit more.
I saw Allison post this morning that she got there early and counted a bunch of stuff in, and then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 more pallets showed up.
Yep. Yeah, the girl's a beast. She's still here running around somewhere. She's getting here. It's dark when she gets here. I think it's dark when she's leaving. So, yeah, she's doing a lot right now. And that was kind of our whole goal really through the summer was like, let's put these processes in place so you're not killing yourself. And here we are, in the fall, and she's killing herself again.
What,
so, yeah.
At what point do you think your team starts to break down? Is it like, so if really busy is 100%, and what I mean break down, what I mean by that is like start to make mistakes, start to burn out, and just are like the whole energy changes in your shop. At what point do you think it starts to break down? 80%, 90%, 100%? So you said you're maxed out. Let's call that 100, 110%. You know what I mean? Like 120. So where do you, in your shops anyway, where do you think it starts to break down? Because I know what's going on here, and I know I have a number I think that it starts to occur at.
You're saying what number do we start to kind of break our processes? At what percentage?
Yeah. So like all of a sudden you're making more mistakes and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you get over that kind of like 80%, everyone loves the 80% number, things start to get chaotic. So, I would say somewhere around there, but, we're kind of in new territory where, we have grown so quickly, and we've added equipment quickly to where, now we need to find people to run in, to pitch in, and to, receiving is not something that just happens overnight, that receiving role. So it's just, where can we find time to train people and then plug them in? But, if we were at 80% right now, I'd be super relaxed. But, we're running, this week, Allison told me that we're running more impressions this week than we've ran, ever. And so we're definitely feeling that.
Yeah, we're in overtime. So like we opened up a Saturday shift, and it started to break down, I would say, late last week, because we went from 0 to 60 so fast. And then it was, I think today I said to myself, it's officially too busy. Like it's just too busy. It's not fun like anymore at this point. I'm having trouble just, keeping things straight, and I think other people are too.
But what's too busy though? Because you technically can set your days. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can set the mood. Is it because everybody wants everything now? Or is it because you're like 4 weeks out instead of being 2 weeks out?
No, because you're right. You can set your days, but our situation is that we have agreements with certain clients that it's 2 weeks. There's no, these orders that you're placing now, it's going to be 4 weeks. That wouldn't fly. You know what I mean? It
so
just
you're
doesn't
fucking
work.
yourself.
We are. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just but most of the year that works. Like most of the time it works. And what happens now is sort of like what Jared was saying, is that we have all sorts of other orders too. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to fuck yourself. Sometimes you have to agree to a certain amount of work.
I agree with that.
You know, you agree, you say yes, you know, in order to, I understand that in order for you guys to do business, you need a reliable source for t-shirts, right? And because you have fulfillment to do. And so, and if we can't do it all, and if we can't fulfill everything that you need, then you're going to go somewhere else and you'll split the orders or whatever it's going to be, right? And so we don't want that. We want them to be exclusive to us. And so you form a partnership. You say, okay, fine, you know, well, this is what we'll do. And sometimes they're flexible. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be. You know, we can push out a day or two or whatever. But yeah, so exactly what's happening to us anyway. The reason why we're just too busy is that we have all of those contracts and all those agreements in place. And then there's also all these other orders. And so we can try and push those out, and we do a decent job of it, but it's all just kind of, do you ever, and do you know what I mean by like when sometimes you bid on something and it's months out and then it just comes, you know, and you don't even know if you want it or not. And sometimes all of a sudden you want it and say, hey, we need it. And so there's surprises too, if that makes sense.
Shit just pops up.
Yeah.
Jared, you mentioned that, you grew really fast, and I know you guys were working on your shop, and you have a nice new space, and you're adding a bunch of equipment. Why is it everything kind of all of a sudden for you guys?
I don't know. You know, we've just really, I think, stuck to our commitments with clients. And like I said, you know, almost all of our business is local. You know, and even talking about turnaround times, like we will just bust our ass for a 2-week turnaround time, you know? And so that, I mean, that's why we're working so hard right now. Like we really don't like to get over that 2 weeks. And we definitely I have another shop, you know, that I could probably hit a golf ball to from here. Where, you know, I hear that they might drop the ball and miss deadlines. And so we've just done a really good job of keeping our commitments with clients. And I think just our involvement in the community has been recognized. And then that causes other people to want to work with us. And so we've created some really good relationships in the community. Yeah, it shows up. I really don't know how, you know, we don't really market ourselves. You know, we spend some time on social media, but you know, within the community, we don't spend any marketing money. It's just all inbound. And that's what we try to focus on, you know, growing is inbound marketing, through social media, email campaigns, but you know, it's word of mouth, a lot of it, and, you know, not letting our clients down.
Your new space, is that something that's kind of centrally located where a lot of people see it and they're like, wow, it's a really nice building? Or is it kind of off in the outskirts somewhere?
No, we did move into a high traffic area. And so I wouldn't say the growth came before that, actually, before we moved in. At the beginning of 2021, we moved in July of 2021 to our new space. But I don't know if it was just, you know, kind of the world opening up from COVID, but the beginning of 2021 was just nuts, even at our old space. So I think, you know, I really don't put the growth on like our location in town. We do have a sign out front, you know, we have like a standalone monument sign out front, and I didn't want to put Parkway Printshop on it, you know, because then people walk in, they want us to print paper for them or something. And it literally just says screen printing on the shop. And so we'll get a little bit of walk-in traffic from that. But the new space was really just to kind of showcase like what we did, definitely who we are, and make us stand out from other screen printers in the area for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you end up with that space because you wanted like more room, or is it just a nicer place and everything else? It looks, I mean, you guys did an amazing job. Like really,
Yeah.
you didn't just
have
walk into a
some.
building where you're just like, fuck it, it's a warehouse space. You guys like decorated it and made it like super
It's
nice.
absolutely beautiful, and that's what some of the comments are on that post we made too. People are like, "Wow,
Like, I don't know
that
where you're
is
at right now, but
gorgeous."
you look like your fucking stylized background back there.
Looks like screens that you glued some screen frames and then painted it all black or something.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, like, I knew we needed a bigger space. When we got started, we signed a 3-year lease, and we were just outgrowing it. We had our first auto in our old shop, and it was I think it was about 1,800 square feet. We had the auto and a manual, and we just needed more space. I knew I wanted to buy something, and I knew I wanted to take something that was old and turn it into something modern. I really love, old things and restoration. And as old of a town that Williamsburg is, it's really difficult to find old buildings around here. And this building was built in the late 60s, but it definitely has some character to it. And it had the space we need. It's a 10,000 square foot building. And
What was it before?
it was a furniture, TV appliance store. So like if you wanted,
It kind of has that look, like the front angle out. It looks like an old.
Yeah, if you wanted any of those items before like Best Buy or Circuit City or something, like this was the place to come and, buy a big box television, a recliner, and a stove, I guess. But yeah, we basically, gutted the whole thing, had drop ceiling everywhere, and everything in the building is brand new. I mean, it has block walls, which I love, concrete floors, but literally everything in the building was new. It was a really large project, and it was fun, but it was really nice. When you talk about the little accents that we were able to do, I mean, we were able to plan that. My Pinterest board was nuts before, kind of designing this place, with inspiration. And we took inspirations from other shops too. Like even, the screens that are behind me, I drew that inspiration from Tiny Fish. They have a conference room. I don't know if they still have it.
He does.
But that green room, like that's a totally rad room, And so I was like, man, I want to do something like that. I just used screens to make a geometric shape and kind of blend in. So a lot of inspiration all over the place.
That's awesome. Are you happy with how everything came out, or are you like, fuck, I wish I did this a little bit differently?
Yeah. I would have got more power to the building. When we designed everything, we had no plans to get a second auto, as quick as we did. But like I said, that first half of last year was so nuts, where it was like, if we're going to continue to grow, we need another press. And, that thing sucks some energy. And we got a new service from our local electric company, a new transformer and everything. And I wish we would have gotten more power. We didn't pay a lot for the electric upgrade, and so I just wish we would have got a little bit more. I've even explored, well, what's it going to be to increase the amperage now? And, it's just stupid how much it would cost. And so, we're kind of dealing with pushing the line just as far as our amperage in the building. So that's definitely one thing that I would switch up for sure.
I ran into something, and I wanted to ask you and Andy, because you're talking about power. I just got that new auto installed this week, and you know how when they install it, they check the power to make sure like what the voltage is coming in and everything. Well, my coming in voltage is like 242, and the press is like it to be like between 208 and 230. So he was like, hey, I'm not going to let you run this press until like you put in a transformer for this specific press. And then we got to looking at it, and like, I already have one on the Sportsman. They didn't make me get one on the Gauntlet, but it would explain some weird little like issues I'm having with electronics if it's too high. And then I had my electrician here, and I was like, dude, if we're going to do that, I'm going to have transformers on like everything, like flashes, presses, everything. Do either of you have like a step down transformer on your building, or are you running them at each piece of equipment?
Yeah. So in renovating the building, we had engineer work done, which was required for permits. And I think that's kind of where, taking a space like this and literally making everything brand new, we were able to like give our electric requirements to an engineer. And then we did have a general contractor. And so, working with the power company, I don't know what they did, but I know, when we made our move, and then also when we got the oval, the feedback from techs was like, we have really good, voltage. And I really don't understand or know what all of it means, but at our old shop, we had to have like one of them buck boosters or step downs or whatever it was on the press. But here, like it just, I don't know if it was the engineers or, how they did it, the people that installed the electric, but, we're really good for the equipment and didn't need anything additional. So, from mechanical to electrical, we had, engineering plans for the building.
Pretty solid. So what you're saying is you're smart and you planned ahead, and I did not.
Well, I think sometimes you don't even have a choice, like we loved this building and we chose this building, and you can, we were lucky in that it was the exact right voltage. So, I think maybe it does sometimes come down to that, just like if you're lucky enough to have the right voltage for M&R, because I know that and I'm not sure, maybe it's different for rock, or I don't know how that works, but with M&R, you're right, Dylan, it's pretty finicky. There's a small tolerance, right?
I think it's like that for all electronics, but the thing is it's just like, I just put that beefed up service in, and my electrician was like, dude, if we get this like full shop transformer, like I'm going to have to undo that service, and then like you have to run it through the transformer first.
That might be a better way to do it though, instead of like,
well, that's
each
what
individual.
I said to him. I was like, why don't we do that? And then he just looked at me like, dude, we just fucking did all this. He's like, now we have to redo it because you didn't think about this or plan this. And I was
but
just
what
like,
the great thing is that you own your building, Jared owns his building, I don't own this building. So I thought about that too, because you said you invested a lot and you had all this cost and build out. And I had this question for you too, Dylan. So when you go about doing things and you invest in your shop, Jared, and same goes for you, Dylan, that's like it's an investment, and it's an investment. It's that you're probably going to get back in a lot of instances. You're going to, it's equity in your building, let's say. And with here, like this last expansion we did, I spent over $50K in electric, just upgrading the service, right? So I could run the Cobras down on that end and all of the flashes, because they each have 3. It was expensive, and however, I don't get to take it with me. And so in other words, like when you lease versus own, my lease, I thought to myself, okay, well, if we're doing this and we're doing this for 5 years and I'm spending $50,000 and you amortize that over 5 years, are we going to stay past 5 years? I don't even know, and so it's like, it's so much more difficult, and it must be way easier because the shop I had before this, we owned that building, and it's such a different feeling. It's such a better feeling. So if you have to go and put a new transformer in for your building, Dylan, like you could at least think to yourself, well, I'm investing in this building. I'm not totally pissing this away.
I do that every day. I mean, we're constantly, like literally every day, we're like upgrading something. Like my dad is here pretty much every day fucking working on something or building something new. Like I was out there today, because I own the building, like I had to mow the lawn and like weed eat, and like I was leaf blowing like dirt off the stairway and stuff.
You could hire somebody to do that,
Yeah, but I like that, and it breaks up my day. So I'm just saying, like, there's shit like that though as an owner, like, but it's also like I'm improving shit every day, but there's also shit breaking like every other day. Like last week I had to like pull the like mini septic pump out from under the building for the renter, because they have a sewage pump and they got clogged full of wipes because someone used their toilet and threw a bunch of wipes in. So it's like I had to literally crawl into the building, pull out a tub. Well, me and my dad, and he did most of it, thankfully. And it was just like tubs of sewage, and it's like you have to do that because you own the building. So there's stuff like that, but yeah, it's way more fun to like put money into your own place because it's yours and you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. So yeah, I mean that part's rad, and you look at it too and you're like, this is mine.
How do you feel like about that, Jared? Is it the same way for you?
Yeah, I guess, a couple things. One is, even with this blank slate, like I wish I could go back and do some things different, just like that power. And there's some, other things that I would do differently. But, one of the reasons why, we decided, that we wanted to purchase something is because my dad's a shop owner, and he owns the building that he's in. And so, just talking with him and him seeing where our business is, he really got in my ear and is like, you need to buy a building. You need to buy a building. Like he kept, pushing that, because he was seeing the growth that we were having. And so, I was pretty fortunate to, have him on my side. I'm not sure, if he wasn't in my ear, chirping about it like he was, like, I'm not sure that we would have bought a building. But, being able to lean on him, and his experience, and the trust is just like, look, he's saying I need to buy a building. I need to buy a building, and it was a great move. And, kind of like, you're talking about, Andy, I mean, the equity that you can have over time, versus paying, rent, is incredible. And, especially, us as business owners, as we get down the road, when we get older, or we're looking to get out, like what do we have? What assets do we have? Sure, equipment's cool and everything, but, you have a client book and what else? And so, I think, having a piece of property, that has value, to go with your business or to sell to an investor. I mean, that's, I think, any shop, that has been around and is established and has a proven business model should definitely look, at some point into purchasing some real estate.
It's also something nice to dump money into when your accountant says you need to spend money or the government's going to take it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much what I'm looking at now. So that's why I'm like, yeah, let's do this project. Let's do this project. Because they're like, you need to spend some money. Jared, you mentioned that your dad was a shop owner?
Yeah. So, I don't have the same story as everybody else that I was in a band. My dad's been screen printing since he was 15 years old in the basement of his parents' house. And so, as a kid, I grew up running around a screen printing shop summers. I'm sure my mom and dad have 3 kids. I'm sure they wanted to get one of them out of the house. So, I would hang out at my dad's shop, and he's just always been in screen printing. So, yeah, I mean, it was really beneficial, to kind of learn that business from him and then be able to take experiences I've had outside of screen printing, and, implement them in my own business for sure.
Is he still printing?
Yeah, he's not printing, but he's got a shop. It's about 25 miles away, from me. And, I guess a little quick story is, in 2014, I started working at my dad's shop full time, and I was doing some outside sales. And he has a 50% business partner that works in that business with him. And I started talking. I've always wanted to be a business owner, and I would tell you, people like screen printing just happened to, be there, for me to open a screen printing business. But working in my dad's shop, I was talking with him and his business partner about a transition or a transaction, to take over his business. And so after 3 years of working there, I just realized that it was like a dead end. Like it wasn't going to happen, and I was in the best years of my professional life in my late 30s. And, if I was going to make something happen, it needed to happen now. And so, in 2017, I did a little legwork about opening a shop in another town. Like I said, about 25 miles from him up here in Williamsburg. And, just kind of pulled the trigger and went over to my dad's house one night. And, I was like, Dad, I'm opening a screen printing shop in Williamsburg. And I like to tell the story. I hired Allison at my dad's shop. And, I went to my parents' house, told my dad I'm opening a screen printing business in Williamsburg, said that to him. I was working for him. The very first thing out of his mouth was,
he kicked you through the wall.
No, he said, "Is Allison going with you?" And so that was a concern of his. But
so how did he feel about it?
Oh, my dad is like the nicest, most laid back person in the world. Like, even when I opened the business, like he was like, those are, you got this account. Why don't you just, you start to help them. So he was really supportive. He thought I was a little nuts, but, like I said, I just needed to make a move. And so Allison moonlighted for about 3 months where she would work at my dad's shop. She would, get off there at 4:30, come over to Parkway. We would print till like 8 or 9 in the morning or in the evening, on a manual cruiser is what we started with, M&R Cruiser. And she did that for about 3 months. And then she knew she was coming. We just needed to build the business until we got to a point where she could make the switch. And then about 3 months in, she was like, "Dude, I've had it. Like, I need to come over." And I was like, "All right, well, I guess we'll figure it out." So yeah, and then that's really how we got rolling.
So when she was at your dad's place, did she just get replaced by somebody else? Or I don't understand how you're just like, yeah, she's a key employee here, I'm just going to take her for myself.
Well, Allison and I were, kind of talking a little bit. Allison knew, what I was thinking about doing. And so she definitely pitched in a lot of brainstorming. And so, it wasn't like a grand scheme. I was going to open this and she was going to come with me, but she definitely knew that, this was something that we were, that I was considering. And, when I pulled the trigger, it was definitely something that, both of us wanted to happen. We just needed to figure out the time, that it was going to happen. But like I said, my dad, he knew it was eventually going to happen. That was his first question, so he knew the relationship that her and I have. And, it was pretty much inevitable.
So what's your focus, Jared? Like, you're not a printer, are you? Or are you more like an office guy?
Yeah. My focus right now is not being responsible for anything. And so that's kind of been, as we have grown the business, I've been able to kind of get myself out of certain areas of the business. So, obviously the first was getting off the press. And probably after about 8 months of business, I was able to get off the press. And then, we got an auto we ordered the auto about 8 months after we opened, and then it arrived a couple months later. But, the first step was getting out of production. And then I just handled pretty much all of customer service up to about a year ago. And then we got to a point where, I was doing customer service. I was doing, all the SEPs, printing out film, any type of design work. I'm not a graphic designer, but, just happened to, learn Illustrator and the functions within it. And, so about a year ago, I was able to get out of customer service. We hired an account manager that, handles all of our inbound phone calls and emails. And, probably my only daily responsibility right now is ordering blanks. And, I'll try to figure that out. But, my whole goal is to really just, lead people, and build a team where, I can fill in where needed and not be relied on for anything that happens or anything that's required on a daily basis. And, in that way I can be flexible. I can decide to take a vacation if I want to, or just, not necessarily be in the building, but the business still functions. So, right now it's really just about processes. I'm really focused on processes, creating processes and structure, in order to alleviate any daily responsibility that I might have for business operations.
How are you going about that? So where do you find resources to help you figure all that stuff out? Is it just all you, or are you watching YouTube videos, or is there a book I need to read because I need to know this for myself, basically?
No, yeah, I mean, I've, read a bunch of, books around leadership and stuff, but I think that's more about, becoming the leader that you want to be rather than, creating the processes. But I mean, I think any business owner or, manager or leader can, find ways to, fill in the holes, one of the goals here, is to, that we've had this year is to get Allison off press. Like, I don't want her on the press. I don't want her to be responsible on the press. I mean, I want her to have that same mentality in production as, she's there to fill in the holes where it's needed, but just also to train and to create the processes. And so during slow times, we're able to do that. Unfortunately, this week, Allison's been a press operator and I've stepped in as a press assistant. A couple hours a day, I'm, pulling shirts because that's what we need to do. But, I think it's really looking at your business and, seeing, okay, what am I doing? Are we at a revenue level where it makes sense to plug someone into this space? And then, taking the time to train and have those processes, and automation is, really important to us. And I think, a business owner that can focus on automating their business would have a much easier time, kind of removing themselves from that responsibility.
What else do you feel like you need to do to get to that goal of stepping out? I know you said that you've kind of done all the roles and backed out and put people in place, but what else do you need to feel comfortable that this place can run by itself? Like, if one person's out sick, are you back to being like, shit, I have to fill in? Or do you have things in place for that?
Yeah, I think, we are currently hiring a press assistant. It's for me, it seems like press operators just seem to be tough to train. We have really good people. We have minimal turnover. We had someone just leave because her husband was in the military and he got assigned to go somewhere else. I mean, other than that, our retention's really good with our staff, but it's hard to. The difficult thing is handling the current business that we have and training at the same time, and so you get into such a grind where it's like, hey, we need to pump out shirts, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we got this press assistant that we need to train, how to load shirts on the press, and where do we find the time to do that? So that's kind of like our biggest hurdle here is how do we continue to pump out T-shirts, but train and continue to expand our team in order to alleviate some of the stress that, both Allison and I are feeling ourselves. So, we are getting ready. We actually have some interviews lined up next week for a press assistant, and then hopefully we can get someone that's super motivated and a lot of energy that we can eventually train to be a press operator. But that's been our hang up. And then the other part that we could use a little bit of structure would just be in our receiving area. We don't do a lot of shipping, so it's not really shipping and receiving. It's just receiving with, the blanks that are coming in and staging orders that are meeting press. So that's kind of like the two areas where, like, if we were able to fill those, like, I would feel super comfortable. Like I said, I order shirts daily and, oversee some emails and put out flyers, but, I can do a lot of that stuff from anywhere. But, I like being here and, engaging with the team for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned, we can get into this a little bit more after this, but you mentioned in an email to me, because we were talking about a separate project, that you used to deal a lot with retail and fashion stuff. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I before I started working at my dad's shop, I worked for Adidas for about 6 years, and before that, I worked at a local kind of like urban fashion store, as a kid and through college. And so I think working with Adidas, though, in mid-level management, eventually with them, really gave me some great exposure into the fashion retail sector. I worked for their originals side, which is kind of like their streetwear, urban line, old school superstars, things like that. And so like I've always been around, a retail environment, and working with Adidas gave me a lot of experience on how to visually merchandise spaces and, kind of showcase garments, I guess. And the other bonus, with working with Adidas is I'm working with, a global retailer that has a lot of structure, and, that really helped develop me as a leader. And, my goal kind of at Parkway is to, implement both those things, my experience in retail fashion, and also, those things that I learned from, the people perspective that Adidas was able to train me, on how to handle, employees and create people culture. And so, yeah, a great experience with that before I started working back into screen printing, as an adult.
How much of that did you take to Parkway?
Well, I took a lot of it to Parkway. Even when I was running, I wasn't running my dad's shop, but I was. If you want to, for a while, I would have like he never had a production manager position, but I was definitely doing that with him, and trying to, implement different, policies and standards and processes. And so when I started Parkway, it was really nice that I had free reign to kind of do and structure it however I want. And as we have grown the team here, we've been able to kind of roll out some of those things that I learned. And so, for example, this year, I feel like our team has grown in about the last 12 months. So this year, like I felt like it was appropriate to finally roll out an evaluation process. And so I was able to take the evaluation process that I had, an employee evaluation process that I had from Adidas, and implement that into Parkway. And so in July, we did kind of like our first rounds of, one-on-one employee evaluations. And we definitely have some incentives tied to performance, in those evaluations. And so that's just an example of something that I've been able to take from Adidas. I don't know if I would have I don't know if I would even think of that, if I'd never worked with Adidas. And
can we pause there for a second? I've never done one, and I know, Andy, you do them too. Can you guys run through like a mock, like how do you do it? Like, and why is it good and why is it effective?
Well, regarding the evaluation process, we this year also created some brand values. And so I felt like we were at a stage of our business where I had a good grasp on who we are. We actually, when we moved, we did a rebrand. And that was a pretty cool opportunity for us. We moved to a new building and we were able to rebrand, because I feel like you really don't know what your business is until you get into it. And so, we rolled out 5 brand values for our shop. And the way we did the evaluation process was we took those 5 values and kind of gave descriptions to them. And then basically it's a 1 through 5 rating of how we felt employees were performing around those values. And then we would take an average of that and give a total score. And what we did, because I always feel like, sometimes business owners don't take the rise in cost of living into effect. We tied cost of living increases with the employee evaluation. So basically, if you're, a 3 and you're meeting expectation, you're not blowing us away or anything, you're still going to get a percentage raise that reflects the cost of living increase that, all of us have in the country. So that's how we have kind of incentivized our evaluations. And then I sent Andy a email because I was listening to an episode and he was talking, I think it was the one where they did the survivor vote, whether the girl was going to get to come back the next day or something.
Yeah.
She did not make it.
No, I think she
got to come back the next day, but then she voted herself off the island.
But sometimes I'm listening to you guys and I'm just like, I'm not yelling at the podcast, but I'm like, what are you doing now? And so I was like, all right, I got to email Andy about this. And so I sent him pretty much what was our what the attendance policy or point system that we used at Adidas when I was there. Mm-hmm. And so we have not rolled that out here at our shop. Honestly, we haven't had a need to, but I think as the team grows, and I mean, honestly, I think we haven't had any problems. So if we started having problems, I'm sure I would implement it a lot faster.
Can I talk about the attendance policy? Can I describe it a little bit real quick? Mm-hmm. So it goes like this. So there's incidents, right? And with each incident, there's a point assigned to that incident. So for example, late arrival, which means 10 minutes plus, which I don't really like. I think if you're 1 minute late, you're late. But anyway, 10 minutes
you're
plus. Well, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. Put it that way. But how about this? So late arrival, 10 plus minutes, it's 1 point. Missed shift, which means 2 hours or more, you given 2 hours or more notice, that's 1.5. Missed shift with 2 hours of less notice, that's 2. Missed shift with 2 hours of or less after start time, that's 3. And no call, no show, 2 hours after start time, that's 6. And so if you do have perfect attendance for 90 days, you get -1. And then here's the actions taken. Verbal warning comes in at 3 points. So let's say you were late arrival 3 times and it was 10 minutes plus each time. Looks like you're getting a verbal warning. First written warning comes in at 4 points. Second written warning comes in at 5. Final warning at 6. Termination 7. What do you think? You like it?
I feel like that shit wouldn't work at my shop at all because everyone's
Why?
fucking...
Tell me why. So tell me why.
Because they leisurely stroll in. Like, yeah, some are here early. Most are here early. But there's some that get here like 10 minutes late. Or they're...
Okay. And how does that affect you? How does that affect your team? How does that affect the jobs going out the door? How does it affect your P&L? Or do you give a shit?
It doesn't really. I mean, the only time it's affected anything is if... Usually production's here early. Like they're like I say 9, they're here at 8:30 usually because I don't know why, they're just here early. But what happens is that if Brian's late or Sarah or Morgan or Maggie's late, is production will bring in a test print and the person they're supposed to be getting it checked with isn't here yet. And then they're just like, well, fuck, I guess I got to sit here and wait and do nothing
until
a problem. They get here.
Yeah, that's bad. That's costing money. Right. And it's frustrating for your team.
Right. And it's not very often, but like we did have to kind of razz Brian a little bit and say like, hey, like, he's like, oh, what's it matter? And I'm like, well, it matters because like people come in here and they look for you and you're not here. And then they scowl and turn around and walk back out in the shop. And he's like, that doesn't happen. And I'm like, all right, well, literally like every person who walked in the shop that day, I was like, hey, how many times does it affect you if Brian's not here? And they're like, all the time. And it was like they left the shop and went out and did something else. The next person came in and I was like, hey, how often does it affect you if Brian's not here? And they were like, all the time. And then he was just like, fuck, I guess I need to start getting here earlier. And like I said, I'm not giving him shit, but it's just like, you know, that was the reasoning of being like, hey, dude, like, you've worked here for fucking 13 years. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm not, whatever. You're fucking grandfathered in. Like, I don't really care at this point. But I just wanted to let you know that, hourly? Like, he's hourly, but he's worked with me since like literally day one. So, it's just, you know, it's not like he's just late. He's just, we all know Brian's not going to get here till 9:30 instead of 9. but he always stays late too. So like he makes the time up, but it's just like he's not a morning person, and we all know that. So I don't know. I'm more lenient, I guess.
I think, especially with a larger team, and what, like, I understand Andy's, size of team to be, I think like having those policies like in place, like really allow to have those conversations that you need to have that a lot of like business owners like try to avoid, and I think it's a good way to make sure that you're setting expectation around, like the employee's behavior or, when they're showing up or, when they might be calling out, like, increases the importance of, how much notice they're given if they're going to miss a shift. And, if you're able to, have a policy and you're like, it's really like the policy is the bad cop, right? So like you're not necessarily like,
right,
hurting a relationship that you might be having with a staff
they did
member.
it to themselves.
Yeah, and the policy is a policy, and so you can always, it's always easier to be the good cop, and the policy, allows the policy to be the bad cop, and you're just delivering the message. And so I think, having those types of things in place, and that goes back to the evaluation process, it really sets that opportunity for you to give candid feedback, where someone, could be doing better. Obviously, we like to celebrate and recognize what people are doing well. I have a personal, like I always want to know what I can do better. And I think I tend to focus on that in our evaluation conversations. But, it just allows that communication. And then we always allow, in those conversations for the employee to give their feedback, and they might be feeling a certain way about something. And I think those sit down planned conversations is incredibly important, especially as your team grows. And I felt like we were at a spot with 8, about to be 9 of us, that we were at a spot where we could just be like, okay, we need to lay this foundation, because as our team grows, we start adding people, and it's something that, is set in place, and we're not just rolling out HR policies, to a team of 15, 16 people.
Right.
I think this is a very important distinction. I think that your shop, I would rather have that shop. I would rather live in that environment. I would rather have it that me and my buds are working here printing t-shirts. And if it's cool if you're 10 minutes, 15 minutes late and you're staying later because you're not a morning person, even if you're a half hour late, I don't care. As long as you're staying later and getting your work done and you're happy, I'm happy, everybody's happy, then that's cool. I would rather have that. But I think that somehow I got into this situation and that's through some of my own. I allowed us to grow to this. And also I had a team that I kept adding to that. All of a sudden it shifted, and I was in a position where, wait a second, I had some exit interviews where people would leave and say, okay, I'm leaving. And they would put on here a couple of things, I would ask questions like, how fair do you think your compensation was? How fair do you think you were treated? How fair do you think your management? All these sort of questions. And I started to get some questions back that were some favoritism, let's say. And I was like, oh shit. Not only are they leaving because they think that I maybe allow this person to stroll in 30 minutes late, but also there could be even a lawsuit because I allow that person to be late and I don't allow this person to be late. And I was like, I thought I was exposing myself to something different. And also one more thing is that I wasn't friends with anyone that works here prior to them working here, and so it wasn't like we had a friendship before and now they're here or anything. There was never that dynamic. Again, I would like to emphasize that I would prefer to have your shop. I think that what you've created and the vibe of your shop is like very sustainable and also good for your mental health. I think that the shop here maybe isn't that sometimes. Somebody asked me, I was on press yesterday because of what happened earlier in the week of this whole goof that we did, and I was on press. I was offloading and the press op said, hey, Andy, just curious, how are you doing? Are you doing okay?
Are you going to break down and murder us all?
Yeah. Is this fine? Because I don't know how you're handling it. I was on the tagging machine 3 days ago or 2 days ago after all this happened. And the person said, "Hey, Andy, how do you process all this? Like, do you meditate and stuff like that?" Cause we're like, man, this would have freaked me out, And so it did freak me out, although I just remained calm. Cause one of the things that you have to do while you're leading is you can't freak out. I've done that before, and that was the worst possible thing for me to do, was lose my cool. You have to keep cool. And
it was like we were talking about that the other day when I cut those fucking wires on the press, the brand new press. It was like, it literally didn't even faze me. Like, and I like thought about that later. I was like, I didn't even care. I was just like, man, I did that. It is what it is. Let's get this shit inside and I'll fucking deal with it later. Like, yeah, I was surprised at how little that didn't piss me off. I was just like, fuck, whatever. It's just another thing. It's just another thing to add to the daily like tasks. It wasn't like oh my God, let's lose my shit and go punch a wall. It was just like, fuck, whatever. It's another work thing I got to do. Like,
Jared,
whatever.
Do you agree with that as far as the distinction between, there's some shops that it works to not have any sort of policies and it's fine, and maybe that shop grows and then it doesn't work one day? Or do you know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think there's definitely multiple ways, to run your shop or lead people. And, I think I understand Dylan's shop to be like, I couldn't imagine him trying to put in a policy like they would murder you, dude.
Exactly.
Like, so,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I can't. I feel like I can't do morning meetings because they're like, shut up.
I think it's the exception. Like the culture that you have at your shop, I think, is a lot different than 95% of all the other shops that are out there. And so I don't know, you're just a unicorn or something, but. Like, I
don't know. I didn't try to do anything. It just happened.
Yeah. But, a lot of us, and with the size of Andy's team and stuff, we're hiring strangers, and so it's really about, how do we create an environment that they're happy to come to work and they have great energy while they're here. But then when something doesn't go right, how do we handle that? And so, right. I think, there's definitely a balance, and, as business leaders, I think we all just need to, take kind of like that bird's eye view of our business and see, what do we need to do to continue to grow, even if it's not, from a revenue standpoint. One of our brand values is grow or die. And it's not really, about, growing our business or adding more presses. It's really about just becoming better versions of ourselves. And I think, we all should be doing that. Even people that, might have something a little bit less unstructured, like Dylan's shop.
So, we just got done saying that you're a unique shop and that I would actually trade for that sort of vibe. I mean, I would like to live my days a little less stressed. And I think that, what you've built, you've done just exactly that.
There's a trade-off though. Like I have things that you guys don't have that also suck. Like if, I feel like I get taken advantage of more so than you guys probably do. You know what I mean? Like
maybe
being buddy and like being friends with everybody. I get a lot of like everybody standing in the office having a 45-minute conversation about buttholes. And it's like, I can't walk out and be like, hey, asshole, like, get back to work. What the fuck are you doing? They're just going to be like, oh, let us finish first or whatever. It's like shit like that happens, or, like the late thing or whatever. It's just like, oh, well, you don't care usually. Like so-and-so was late yesterday. Why are you yelling at me for being late? It's like, I get stuff like that. Not all the time, but it's just like, you know what I mean? And it's more stressful for me because it's like, how do you have a manager employee conversation with one of your best friends too? It's like,
yeah, that's tough.
It's hard to be like, hey, you're fucking this up and you're on strike, you're on notation 6 and I'm supposed to, dock your pay, or it's like, that doesn't happen. Like, I can't do that.
I have, you asked a minute ago what, as far as like about performance reviews. And so I just printed off, I used to have this many page thing that I would let, I would let the team member fill out, and then their manager fill out, and then I think a coworker. I used to have it where I would have 3 because I wanted to compare them. I wanted people sort of like to report on this person, and then this person report on themselves, just to kind of feel like how what people thought of working with them. And then that just took so long, and I thought wasn't really getting me anywhere. And so I changed it to just one page and then only goes to the employee. And I simplified it. And here's what I put. Because really this is, for me anyway, just a conversation starter, just a reference point of what we do in our performance review. And so here it goes. What are your 3 most significant accomplishments last year? So we only meet once a year. I wish we could meet more because I think that would do a lot for these performance reviews, because sometimes people, they maybe like improve when they know their performance review is coming, they'll like it seems like some certain people will do better that month or something, and then you have the short-term memory. You can't remember what they did a year ago. But
do they come up with those things right there in the office, or is it something
no,
that you noted?
So I print this out and then I hand it to them, and then they have a day or so to fill this out. Normally I get it back that same day. So like I said, what are your 3 most significant accomplishments last year? What are your 3 biggest goals you'd like to accomplish this year? And then I have this thing called the Big 7. And it says, please rate on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being poor, 2 being fair, 3 being good, 4 being very good, 5 being excellent. And so I have the Big 7, what I call them. And I said, strong work ethic, setting and achieving goals, dependable, consistently following through. Number 3, positive attitude, creating a good environment. Number 4 is self-motivated. Are you working effectively with little direction? Number 5, team-orientated, making the most out of collaboration. Number 6, effective communication, understanding the benefits of clarity. And number 7, flexible, adapting in a meaningful way. And so like on this paper, there's a 1 through, and they can circle them. But then it says at the bottom, complete on back or attach additional paper. So I want them to write a couple sentences, you know what I mean? Because then I get to look at it, and it's funny because some people will go on here and they'll say, okay, and they give themselves all 5s, like excellent in every single category. Some people do that. And I'll go through, and if I disagree with one of them, let's say I thought their attitude wasn't so positive, I'd say, hey, you give yourself a 5 on positive and tell me why you did that, And they'll say,
because you're a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, because like for real, like and they'll sometimes say on, let's say, team oriented, they'll give themselves a 3 and it's accurate, or maybe that's kind of a low score, and I'll say, oh, you only gave yourself a 3, a good for team oriented, where I think you're much better than. I mean, still 3's a good, right? But honestly, right. I think you're very good at that, and so it's just like a basis of where we start conversations at. And it's so far, like I've done this for about, I would say this one says 2019 on it. So I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. And okay. I think Jared's smiling because he's like, I don't know about this.
What does that do though? Like I get that you can have a paper and be like, hey, you're a nice person, you're whatever. But what does that actually do for you? Like, is it helping you? Is it helping them? Is it something where you can set goals for the next year? Yeah.
So, we talk about what we did. What's really cool is so if they've been here for 3 years, I have what they did last year and then the goals that they have for this year, let's say, or the next year, right? And so you can, when somebody says on here, what are your 3 biggest goals for this year? And they put down something that I had no idea that that's what they wanted to do. Well, that's just like a talking point. Like, okay, wait a second. This person wants to, they're a designer, they're a graphic designer, but one of their goals is they want to write software for Monday, let's say, and improve Monday. Well, that's really great to know, like during our sit down, right? And then it's like a talking point. I could say, okay, well, let's do this. And how soon do you think you can do it? When can it be done? And if you do that, well, then that justifies giving them a compensation adjustment, right? They're normally they're here for a performance review. They're here for a raise. And what justifies a raise besides just being here for another year, or being here for a whole year? Well, then this gives us reasons and say, okay, well, you have these 3 goals for this year, then that makes sense. And then you accomplished them last year. Like, let's do this. You know what I mean? So it just gives you reason besides just that you're here another year, that you were going to get a raise. Now, I understand what Jared said about the cost of living increase, because that's fair, right? It's fair to say, well, we had a cost of living increase of 5% or 3% or whatever that is, and that's what your raise is going to be. And But you also took on these extra responsibilities. And so instead of 3%, we're going to call it 6 or call it 8 or call it 10. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I've given even way more than 10% raises. So it just depends.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the way you're doing it, Andy, I mean, that's really a good way to do it. And especially if you can set goals. We don't currently have that on our evaluation form, and it is just a page for ours. But, you know, if you can set goals and then revisit those in a year, you know, I would probably encourage you to do 6-month evaluations.
Right.
We're doing ours in January and July because those are our slowest months, so we can really find time for that. But setting goals is great because, like you said, you can pull out the piece of paper and be like, okay, here's what we talked about. Let's review this. And then, you know, do we need to change direction or do we need to capitalize on something that, you know, employee might be doing extremely well? And so I think that's definitely a good way to go about it.
Right. All right. We're going to do some listener questions. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Poor Morgan asks, on the previous Parkway episode, I think it was mentioned that your neighbors approached you wanting to buy your building for a nice chunk of change a few years back. What were the pros and cons running through your head at that time? And did the offer at the time make you rethink renovations?
The offer at the time definitely caused some second thought. So, I mean, I guess I'll just be super candid about, we bought this property before renovations for $600,000. And we're next to a car lot that had just sold to a new owner. And he wanted to buy this property, I think, to take this building down and make it a parking lot. And he made us an offer for $1 million for the property. And then I told him, yeah, that just didn't make sense for us. And then we started work, and there were, you know, we were replacing the roof, and he texted me and said, Jared, what's happening at the building? And I said, we're getting a new roof. And he said, $1.2 million, and I'll pay you back for all your expenses.
Wow.
and I was like, oh my God, like that's something to think about. And he said, you can go build your dream property. That's not true. Like, you know, I could go buy a piece of land around here for $800,000. It has no plumbing, has no electricity. There's no infrastructure on that. And so it just didn't make sense, you know, looking at our business and, you know, what we can net in the coming years. Like, it just didn't make sense to me to give up the property. And we had gone so far. It was just kind of like the point of no return. But
I respect that. I like it. I mean, and your building's so unique.
If someone comes to anyone and says, "Hey, I'll give you $600,000," like, yeah, you start thinking about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My print shop live asks, "What is a poor business decision that you have made? Client, order, or even hiring?"
I did see this question, and like I'm trying to put some thought into it, but it's like there's nothing that I can really go back and think of like that was a really bad decision. We haven't had to really fire too many clients. We've gotten tough with a couple of them, and I think because of my background, we hire appropriately, especially if we're hiring in production. We have a 2-part process where I'll spend about 20 minutes getting a first impression interview with someone. And then if I kind of give them a pass, they'll meet with Allison for about 45 minutes. On a different day, they'll come back and meet with Allison because that position will report to Allison. And so, you know, hiring, we're pretty good on that also. I mean, really, it would just be, you know, some of those the building renovations, you know, I would take back some of those things and wish I did some of that differently.
Part 3 T's asks, retail space looks super clean. Any specific reason for having a retail side as opposed to just a showroom? Any tips, pointers you have for turning it into a legitimate additional revenue stream?
Yeah, I mean, so Williamsburg is a tourist town, and it's colonial themed like everywhere. And so I, you know, see an opportunity for us to sell kind of something that goes against, you know, these tourist trap colonial shops, you know, that kind of are around our town. And so I wanted to create a space to where we could start taking kind of local Williamsburg, vibes and putting them into retail merch. And so we really don't use the retail space, to show screen printing clients garments. It's really for people to come in and shop and check out our space. And I wanted to make also a space that felt communal, to where people could come hang out, or staff could hang out after work. And we did build out a sample room where that's in our conference room, where we do have samples. So we do have that space, but pointers around retail, I would say, is just to really set yourself apart, especially if you are in a place that is touristy, but it has like that local. We're a local business in a tourist town, so we really kind of want to grab the local dollar, and so they don't have anywhere to put it as far as merchandise to kind of rep our town, and that's what I wanted to create. So I think that was a pretty good strategy on our end.
Nice. Gren Croy asks, I know you guys are slammed with orders right now. Do you have a backup plan if Allison gets COVID and has to be out for a couple of weeks?
Well, we're slammed with orders, and no, there's no backup plan. It's really, busting our ass, like really just to pump out as much as we can. And, we're kind of blessed. I'm kind of blessed, to have someone like Allison, to where, she could come to me and say, hey, dude, can you be here at 5:30 in the morning to pull shirts off the press, because we need to hit this deadline. And so the backup plan is to work outside our normal working hours. And then, we will extend turnaround times if needed. We probably will go get to that 3-week mark. But we will do everything that we can to make that 2-week deadline as much as we can. As long as we're not falling out.
Do you have people cross-trained to do, her job, I guess, is sort of the gist of the question. So like it happens to every shop. I mean, our production manager, Kyle, he had COVID, he was out. And so you have to have somebody that can fulfill his role. Yeah, maybe they aren't as fast because they're just not used to doing it every day, but at least they can do something. And so I'm sure you have something in place where somebody can step up and fill her role. Not as good, but at least they can do it. You know what I mean? They can make a screen, or they can print a shirt, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's that press operator role, that I spoke about. It's been tough for us, and we do need to figure out how we can train that position faster. But, it's like we get into the weeds so much where that training, isn't happening, and we're just trying to get, shirts on the belt. So I'd say everywhere else we're solid. Multiple people can check things in, and QC. We got a guy that does, a screen tech. He does everything, dark room, reclaim, everything around screens and developing. And it's just that press operator. It's really just about putting those, shirts on the press and troubleshooting, where that's where our kink is. And we do have a press operator, but, we got our second press in April, and we're running both of them. Unfortunately, our production manager has been stuck on one of them.
My advice to anybody that's sort of in your spot is that have that press assistant just start setting up jobs and start loading shirts. And like on an easy order, let's say, let's say there's a 50 shirt, one color, black ink. The press assistant should step into the press operator's position and just run it. Load a shirt and hit. You can index it each time with a toggle. You don't have to put it in auto, but just index it. And I know you're saying, we don't have time because we got to get shirts on the belt, but you're not losing too much time. So put them in that spot.
Yeah,
force them to do it on those.
My printer and the assistant they're both printers. They swap back and forth. Let's see. Graphic Source asked, Jared, what has been the biggest growing segment in your business? Where are you producing new and innovative clients? Also, you rule, bud, Nick Wood.
Oh, Nick Wood. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really inbound. And we have someone here that is a content creator. And I hired that position about a year and a half ago. And all she does is, like I said, focus on social media and email campaigns, and kind of, showing our community who we are and what we do. And so there's nothing that we're really, we're out there trying to grab. And we've been pretty fortunate. It's just like you guys probably know, you walk in the morning, you open your email, and there's just an order sitting there.
Yeah.
And, we've been really fortunate to be able to grow that way. And so I think focusing on, our commitment to our clients, as well as communication through automation is huge for us. It definitely sets us apart. And so there's not really a sector we're focused on. I would like to start, reaching out a little more regionally. Like I said, we do a lot of work with restaurants and breweries. And, if we extended, 50 miles and, to the left or right of where we are, there's Richmond and Virginia Beach. There's a lot of those businesses in those areas. So the next step would really be like, how do we target these areas? And we've done some brainstorming around that. Definitely going over and kind of dipping our toe in is something that we can do, but I'm, kind of interested to see if there's something we might be able to do a little bit more with, maybe, toss around the idea of, setting up a little showroom or something that kind of expresses the brand that we are and has someone actually in that community. Because I think being in the community is what really grabs that business. So
yeah.
I can't travel 50 miles to go to a brewery every evening. So we've tossed around some ideas like that as well.
Yeah, I get a quick question on the side of that. That content creator person, is that someone you hired that just does that? Are they full time? Are they part time? Or do they do other tasks and then hop into that role?
She works about 30 hours a week. And so it's a lot of, me having some crazy ideas around videos and, things I want to do to kind of show off the shop or inspiration that I might have. But she also handles like kind of the retail portion of our business. So maintaining the retail space, handling online orders. She'll also jump in when we get walk-ins, just as far as like a greeter and first point of contact, especially if our account manager is tied up in a meeting or something like that.
So she has a few hats.
Just stories and posts and email campaigns. And we're starting to get into Facebook or meta ads and see how we do with that. So that's kind of the next thing we're tackling, something that's, falling under her responsibility.
Nice. Jared, do you have any shop hacks or questions for us?
Yeah, I do. Probably more for Andy than Dylan. But have you put some, to both of you, but have you put some serious...
It's cool, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I know your answer is going to be like, you're just going to die and the shop's going to close up.
Yeah.
But have you put any serious thought into your exit plan or strategy?
I think that, that's a good answer. I'm just going to die and probably at, standing tagging shirts right now. Honestly, this week is what it seems to be. So I'll probably be tagging shirts and then just drop dead. And then it goes to my inheritors, my beneficiaries. I don't know. But seriously, I have put some thought into it. I don't know an answer because part of me thinks that, that'd be great. I could retire. I guess I could sell this shop and then, move to a climate I like or the beach or whatever. But other part of me thinks... What are you going to say?
Well, it's just like, a lot of business owners, that I talk to outside of screen printing, and especially older ones, maybe they're getting ready to retire. Like, they've always encouraged me to like, it's never too early to start thinking about that or planning that or talking about it, or putting in, some type of plan that has some set dates in there. And so, I think it's not something that I've put a lot of thought in because, I've just been thinking, grow. But, it's, you guys have established shops, and so it's just interesting, to think about.
I think that, you're right. You should start sooner than you think. And because nobody's going to buy a screen printing shop for any amount of money or a good amount of money if there aren't systems and processes in place. Because like you said earlier, if your business requires you to be there, Jared to be there, that's so much of the business. And so why would I want to buy your business if it requires you to be there? And so I think that, yes, if your business is much more marketable if you're not involved in it every day. And so that's a really hard thing to do, though. And so I've been, I think, trying to do that for years, but I get closer and closer. But the other part of me is that I don't want to sell this right now. I do not. Should a person ever sell a business that's making money? I don't know. That's a tough decision to make, because why would you want to do something like that? I mean, you're going to sell something that's profitable. I don't know if you should ever do that, but I don't know. I think that part of me would miss it too much to sell it. So that's probably my answer.
I feel like that's my biggest question to this question is, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, what else are you going to do? You can go to the beach, but you'll do it for like a week and you're like, cool, I've done that. That's a vacation. That's not
I'm bored.
A lifestyle. Yeah. Like that's the thing that most people say, like, especially blue collar people, they're like, yeah, I retired. And then they die because that was their, you know what I mean? Like, they'll legit like get a sickness or fucking like just die somehow because like they have nothing to live for now. Like, they just go home and they're bored out of their fucking skull and they go to bed early and they get up and they just bitch at the TV. Like, what are you supposed, this is my whole life. Like, this is everything I've poured everything into.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think there's something to making your brain work every day and making your body physically work every day that keeps you alive. And so there's probably something to that, Dylan. You're right. But I think I would miss it. I miss it when I'm gone for a few weeks. I'm ready to come back. So I would miss the action. And then when I get back, then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I don't miss this at all. I'm ready for another vacation. All right. So do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more question. I'm wondering if either of you have been approached to purchase another shop, and did you ever give it any real thought?
I have. I've had multiple people. I actually had like 3 when COVID first started. Well, somewhat into COVID because like they were having a lot of trouble. I feel like it was people that had way too much money out and were like paycheck to paycheck as far as paying their bills. And they just couldn't hack it. And they asked me to pretty much buy their business. But I have no desire to do that. Like, I'm still learning and still grasping my own business. And I don't need to pull in someone else's mess. But I know like a lot of people try to buy a business just to take the book and shut the rest down and sell the equipment. But I got too much of my own shit going on. Andy?
Yeah, sometimes I get that, but I'm sort of like you. I said yes to 2 embroidery companies because I was trying to, the deal was too good to pass up, and it helped grow our embroidery. There was one that I purchased. I bought it on a credit card because at the time I didn't have any money. This was in our first couple of years in business, and I didn't have the cash that they wanted, and so I put it on a credit card. And they had an exclusive contract with some places that made a lot of sense. You know what I mean? So I was able to pay. The ROI on that was really good. But now, if somebody came, and especially screen printing, the answer would be hell no.
Yeah. Did you have any shop hacks, or have we touched on every single one of them?
Yeah, no, I have a couple, and the first is half day Fridays. And so we have been running half day Fridays ever since we opened our business. It's something that my dad does at his shop, and I kind of took from him. And I remember when we opened, he was like, hey, you go and do half day Fridays? And I was like, no, people might want to pick up, later on Friday, and, we'll stay open. I think we stayed open till 5 on Friday for 2 weeks. And then it was like, I can't do it. And so the production team works 7:30 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and then 7:30 to 11:30 on Friday. And by noon on Friday, this place is shut down. And so work-life balance is incredibly important. I think when I did our job post, we did a Facebook job posting for the press assistant that we're hiring for, like highlighted half-day Fridays, weekends off. And so if you can find a way to implement that in your business, it's worked really well for us and for morale.
So how are they making up the time if they're trying to get 40 hours then? What are they working longer?
How are they getting 40 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that's 7:30 to 5 Monday through Thursday. And then those couple hours, 7:30 to 11:30 on Fridays. They're getting up to 40 hours right in there. So,
okay.
Our production team, even with those half-day Fridays, they might be staying a little later on a couple days throughout the week. So we've dabbled into overtime a little bit, slightly during peak season. I mean, barely, an hour or two, but still, operating that way.
Let's see. We can do quick takes real quick.
Cool.
All right. Quick take number 1. What's your favorite pre-workday ritual?
Snoozing. I usually snooze for a little while and then kind of roll over and grab the phone and start getting into something, social media or emails, and that really gets the brain ticking. So that's hop in the shower, get in the truck, and then come to work. So it's pretty much how I roll. 45 minutes is what I need to get out the door and to work.
I feel like I have a very similar routine, except now I add walking in there. What are you watching or listening to right now?
I really like the show Alone on History Channel.
Me too.
So
fuck yeah.
I think it's absurd that these people go into like wilderness by themselves with like 10 items and can live for like 75 days. Like,
and most of them just starve.
I mean, it's really the winner just, it's who can starve the longest, really. Right. And it's crazy. Yeah. So they're really talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy?
What experience from your childhood has made the greatest impact on your career and like the success of your career?
His dad's shop? I can answer that question.
Yeah, probably. I think just that relationship with my dad running around his shop, getting some of those traits that he has around being a business owner, mildly artistic. Yeah, for sure. I think, seeing that both my parents were small business owners. And so it was really nice to kind of get that spirit from them.
Do you think anyone can be a business owner, or do you think it's something as you're growing up that makes you predisposed or gives you a bigger probability for success?
I think it's like 50-50 for sure. I mean, I think there's characteristics that are just, kind of ingrained in people, genetically that make them, whether you're a people person or you work around processes. I mean, I really do think that a lot of it has to do with just the composite of who the person is. I think to be successful though, like it takes work and work on yourself and being a better leader. And so I think there is a little bit about someone who is a business owner or entrepreneur that, is kind of a part of their genetic makeup. But I think in order to be successful, like it's something that they need to work on and develop.
What are you into in your personal life? What's outside of work? What are your hobbies?
Right now it is watching football. And so it's NFL season, which I really get into. People ask me who's my favorite team. It's whoever I have money on during the game. And so I like calculated risk and it's that time of year. So yeah, I'm into football right now.
All right.
So this question is very important because I'm starving. What's for dinner?
My wife went out to Thai food with her mom this evening, so I will probably nibble at some leftovers. I am a cold leftover food eater, so I do not mind just opening the fridge and grabbing something, not heating it up, and just eating it. So it's cold leftovers one way or the other, I'm sure.
What do you get from the Thai place?
Well, I'll do pad Thai, but like I said, she'll bring something home, whatever she got. There'll be half of it left over, and so I might get into that.
Well, thanks, Jared, for coming on, man. We've been wanting to have you on for a while. Everyone, like if I would have read through all of those listener questions, most of them were, "Holy shit, that's a super nice place." So you really got something going on, and it shows, and you got some really great employees, and we love Allison, and you got a great thing, and thanks for reaching out to us. I'm really excited to work on that thing with you that we got going on. But yeah, we're glad we can get you on. I know we had some internet issues, but we'll figure it out, and Chad will fix it in editing.
It's all our fault. We're gonna fix that soon. But it was great.
Don't worry about it.
You.
Andy looks like a giant blur to me right now, so I mean, it's cool.
Dude, it was great hanging with you. Your building is absolutely gorgeous, and we can't leave this episode without saying hello to Allison and waving, Dylan. We have to. There you go.
She'll love that.
That's super
She's
awkward.
waving back, I'm sure.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks, dude. Have a good night.
All right, talk to you guys.
See you, man.
Thanks.